What up, Mythguardians? Leap Daniel here. I am coming at you with a really cool deck that I'm really excited to show you. It has a 7-2 win rate in ranked. This deck really embodies the soul of the Forge mechanic from Rings of Immortality. From the beginning, a lot of people were really trying to put together a good red-orange with green splash deck that really relies on the Forge mechanic, because orange has a bunch of really cool Forge cards, especially Caravan brass, and red-green has Pseudonomicon, which can search them out right when they're forged. I call this deck Cerberus Seeker. The only green card we are running is 3 Canine Handler, and that pulls our Cerberus Unchained from our deck. So this deck has a lot of ways to reach Cerberus, and it might seem inconsistent to only run Canine Handler as our only greens, but you only play Canine Handler when he's forged pretty much anyways in most decks, because he's not that useful as a 2-mana 2/2, which gives adjacent canines armor. All of your forged minions, aside from Canine Handler, are orange. So we have Null Seeker, which, by the way, can find Canine Handler and ramp you up a gem. And we have Hand of Sod, which when forged can also find Canine Handler. Then we have Jazaeri Arquebus, a just generally very powerful forge card, and Caravan Brass. I tried to keep the number of forge minions down actually, because I wanted to make sure Grand Finale would pull only really powerful stuff, so I didn't play, like 1-mana forge minions. Shopworn Bull is really great in here. We already know that he can turn Parsa recruits and ephemeral return stuff from Journey of Souls into free draws. Pseudonomicon, in addition to finding your forged minions, also kind of acts like a third Shopworn Bull. So that synergy is really great. And I think the synergy between Canine Handler and the Journey of Souls path is also really underrated. We know that Canine Handler replaces himself in your hand, helping you maintain hand advantage, but also all of those canines add souls to your Journey of Souls path. So I think Canine Handler is really underrated in conjunction with Journey of Souls, and I encourage you all to build your own decks that take advantage of that. And Cerberus Unchained also works really great with Dashing Ringmaster, and so we've put in a bunch of cards that synergize really well with Dashing Ringmaster. In fact, our only minion that does not get a rush effect from Dashing Ringmaster is Armageddon Angel. So this deck is really cool, I think. It can drop a bunch of different boss monsters, Cerberus, Enyo, Caravan Brass, and really just keep your opponent on edge. Hysterical Strength is great with Enyo, and even Borrowed Glory. I've been critical of Borrowed Glory. I generally don't think it's a good card, but at 1 copy, if you have all of these little 1-health recruits sticking around on the board, and you play Enyo, Borrowed Glory, that's a quick way to just win the game. I think there's a lot of fun combos in this deck, and I definitely encourage you guys to try it out. So without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. So this first game is against a Mithril player, Nosebatter. I burn my Brass Caravan, because if you have it in your opening hand, that's the time to burn it. I burn Canine Handler. So it's often difficult in the first parts of the game because so many of your cards are red but require multiple gems, and you're trying to forge your orange forge minions. So you often have weak opening turns. So I use up a Hysterical Strength to make sure his Yaoi dies, and I have an unforged Null Seeker. I decide to get out Dashing Ringmaster and hope it survives. If it does survive, next turn I can have a rushing Enyo. It does survive, but instead of going for the Enyo, I go for the Canine Handler. Maybe my ordering there was not quite right. I think I should have killed with the Dashing Ringmaster first, because Dashing Ringmaster is better to get back from the Boneyard than Canine Handler. But that would be very late in the game when that happens, if at all. So I forge, and I get out Enyo. Now, he has Poxbringer, which can give her Blight, but he kills so much stuff that she's still hanging on to life. And you can see how all your minions kind of just replace themselves. It's really nice. He wants to make absolutely sure that Ennio dies, so he fires his cannon. I don't know if that was right, because Ennio had Blight 2 anyways. It would die eventually, even if it got immortal. But he might have been worried about the damage. And then he clears up Melpomene Muse. I get my forged Caravan brass back. Now this, he's given my Cerberus Blight. And Caravan brass gets me a draw. He gives that Blight too. He plays Bob Banzai. Now, one thing I want to note here is that with Bob Banzai Vaquero's effect, he added Herald of Pestilence to his hand. Because Bob requires him to reveal that card, I knew he had Herald of Pestilence. My board is already blighted, so in a vacuum, it might be good to play Armageddon Angel on this turn. But because I knew he had Herald of Pestilence, and my Armageddon Angel couldn't answer that, I wanted to bait him to play that as well. So I don't play Armageddon Angel yet. Instead, I commit to the board as though I don't have a board clear, but actually I do. So the downside is that he drew Misanthropia with Bob Banzai, and he destroyed my Pseudonomicon, but I did bait him efficiently to play that Herald of Pestilence, and so here comes Armageddon Angel, wiping him out. I get the Divination effect from Null Seeker. But it's still anyone's game, I think. I play Melpomene Muse. He makes an efficient trade there. And his Mesa Libres are really locking me up. But this Sea Lord's Trident locks him up in return, so... And my Canine Handlers will not search Cerberus because I already played Cerberus. He is leaving my Kraken alone because he doesn't want me to get value by making more and more Krakens. And he doesn't know I have 2 Hysterical Strengths, so that'll turn out to be a mistake on his part. Because he has exactly 10 health. And so 4 plus 3 plus 3 is exactly 10. And that's it. That's game. So I thought that game really showcased some of the strengths of this deck, just how you can keep reloading, keep coming at your opponent, keep them on edge. Here's a game against a champion, Just. So I open with a lot of orange, which is good. I forge my Arquebus and play Eager Recruit, which will synergize with Shopworn Bull if I keep that. So my next goal is to get Melpomene Muse out. So I burn red, and I play an Unforged Null Seeker. Sometimes you do have to play Unforged. Now, because I want to get Melpomene Muse out, I don't use Null Seeker's effect, but often if you haven't burnt green yet, it's sometimes a good idea to use Null Seeker's effect to search for that Canine Handler and forge it. If you don't have any Canine Handlers in your hand, that maximizes your chances of getting a green gem that way. So there I did just draw Canine Handler, so now I shouldn't use it. But I get my Shopworn Bull and I start turning Parser Recruits into hand advantage. and I'm threatening his fairy. He deports. I draw Cerberus. And now Jazaeri Arquebus, even if it dies, it'll still have that Divinity Cannon, which threatens his fairy. He messes up order there with Corrode Equipment. Although maybe he didn't want me to be able to kill it, I don't know. And Cerberus is down, so that's good. And here he sees my big board and decides it's time for a Misanthropia. But because he's only got 16 health, I decide to go ahead with Cerberus anyway. If he didn't Misanthropia, I might have won this turn. But even with Misanthropia, I can still do 12 damage with Cerberus. And I didn't play Hand of Sod because it's not forged, so it would just be a vanilla 4/3. But maybe I should have, because he only had 4 health. So maybe even that would have been worth it. But here, I get off my grand finale, and because I forged Caravan Brass, I get Caravan Brass as well. So this is very threatening for him. I've really renewed my board. He has another Misanthropia, so at least he's out of Misanthropias. And because Canine Handler gets me another Canine Handler, that's more good stuff for Caravan Brass. And then Caravan Brass draws me a Hand of Sod, which is now forged. Hand of Sod draws me another Hand of Sod, which draws me a Shophorn Bowl. So, again, amazing reload capacity on this deck. He gets twins. Trying to stay alive here. But I top deck Hysterical Strength. And, you know, he was always low on life, so it was only a matter of time. So that was a bit of a high roll with Caravan Brass. Most games you don't get to play a forged Caravan Brass, but I thought that was a really exciting high roll for you guys to see. All right, the last game I'm going to show you, this guy, I lost on this one, so I've got all my colors. I forge Hand of Sod and don't want him to get too much from that maze, so I play Eager Recruit right in front of it. He's playing yellow-green, the infamous yellow-green deck. I burn red just to get stuff out. So these Venomfang mutants really slow me down, which is the correct thing to do, right? I basically trade my Void for his here. So he draws. I burn one of my 3 Melpomene Muses. And I've got Oak of Dodona. He uses on Ellie, so I don't get the demise effect. I forge Jazaeri, and I play another Melpomene Muse, as well as my recruits. Spreading them out, so it's hard for him to address all 3. He's got another autocam. So I'm getting my canine handlers online. So we're reaching the late game here. He's dropping a big miasma catalyst. I've got Sea Lord's Trident. So my thought is that's a good way to block the catalyst. He plays Iku Torso to threaten me with overkill damage. And I figure now's a good time to Armageddon Angel. His Traitorous Murmur takes my Armageddon Angel. And here I'm about to make the most terrible misplay. So he protects his Armageddon Angel, but it's winter. So anything with 5 attack should kill it. Unfortunately, I use Infuse on my Kraken. Please do not do this when playing Dashing Ringmaster, okay? If I had just not infused it, I could have rushed this Kraken into the Angel and then made another Kraken and rushed that into the Angel, and that would have killed it. But because I used Infuse here, it made it so that it didn't have Rush anymore, because Dashing Ringmaster only gives Rush to minions with 4 or less strength. So, and it's not when they're summoned, it's they have Rush only if they have 4 or less strength. It's a continuous effect. So learn from my mistake. Don't infuse your Krakens with Dashing Ringmaster, okay? So I think that mistake might have lost me the game. I do lose, but I don't know. Maybe I would have won, maybe I would have lost were it not for that. But he keeps the Angel as a result. And Plague Maidens with Protect is just such a deadly combo here. Really addresses this board very well. And I don't really have anything to come back with. I have Canine Handler. I have some level of, recursion, but it's nothing compared to the amount of clearing potential he has. Anelli prevents me from getting the Demise effect. He's got 3 of these autocams, and he's doing heavy, heavy damage with Armageddon Angel. I get Cerberus, but it's too little too late. He protects, and then I think he just kills me with the Plague. He doesn't even need Armageddon Angel. Yeah, so learn from that game. Be careful about your Dashing Ringmaster. Make sure you're not expecting high attack minions to have Rush. But overall, in spite of my misplaying, I think it was a good game, and I think it's a wonderful deck. So I hope you liked it, and have a great day.